praise to Yahweh, Bahoshem, Yahweh Shai, Bahoshem, Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, otherwise known as GMS, also known as the Prophets of Doom. All right, these are where I have learned this truth, and these are where I am still learning this truth. And also Shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. Lord willing, I'm of that number. So we're going to get right into it. Lord willing, this will be a quick and straight to the point video. This is going to be about another precept. All right. So first, let's get the definition of precept.
Precept.
Okay, a general rule intended to regulate behavior or thought. Again, all right, precepts regulate our behaviors and our thoughts, especially in this day. Speaking of the remnant and the elect, being awakened out of this deep sleep, or the darkness, all right, the gross darkness, all right, and in awakening, we are pointed to the truth and then the understanding, the true understanding of the scriptures, and we learn precepts. Through precepts, we get understanding. Again, precept, rule intended to regulate behavior and thought, because we were once walking in the ways of the world, all right, before we were regulated to the behavior and the thoughts of the remnant and the elect. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to this precept, Isaiah 46:12. I'm going to read this in the NLT. It reads, "Listen to me, you stubborn people who are so far from doing right." Verse 13, it says, "For I am ready to set things right, not in the distant future, but right now. I am ready to save Jerusalem," or in Hebrew, Jerusalem. Okay, and it says, "And show my glory to Israel." So the important thing here is that we have to listen to the Lord, and the only way we can do that is if He puts a spirit on us to listen, puts a spirit on us to have true faith. All right, and not just being able to mouth and spell the word faith. All right, and Lord willing, we endure in this to the end, and we do that by staying on the right path, praying. All right, ultimately being predestined to do the right thing. Okay, to be a part of the remnant and the elect. All right, so again, Isaiah 46:12. "Listen to me, you stubborn people who are so far from doing right." Let's get this word for stubborn. As a matter of fact, let's just look it up in Google really quick.
Stubborn.
All right, it reads, "Having or showing dogged determination not to change one's attitude or position on something, especially in spite of good arguments or reasons to do so." All right, and what more of a right reason to do so than to be a child of the Lord, all right, to be a son of Yahweh, to be a prince of the power and a brother to Yahweh Shai. All right, we should be walking in those ways, all right, and not the ways of the world. Okay, so we also have to keep in mind, this is something very important. This whole thing, all right, is about Yahweh, which is whom the world ignorantly calls God, all right, His beloved Son, Yahushai, which is whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus. Okay, and the people that are the apple of the Lord's eye. All right, the Israelites. All right, these are the main characters of the story, besides the antagonists. All right, Esau, and then the extras, which are these other nations. Okay, this is all written for, and especially in this time, this is all for the remnant and the elect. So when you read here in hold on, meant to look for this in the King James. So hold on, when you read this here in, hold on. All right, when you read this here in Romans 15:4, all right, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. Who is it speaking of? Is it speaking of the whole world, or people who don't have faith, or people who have faith for a minute and then fall off? No, this is for the predestinated ones, the remnant and the elect. All of these things, whatsoever things were written aforetime, were written for our learning. And right now, no one can say that they are chosen. All right, we are all hopeful. We are all called that tell this truth. But we don't know whom the chosen are, which uh, begs for humility. All right, not knowing whom the chosen are. So then what does that make us do? Search the scriptures, pay attention to the traits and the characteristics of the people who are the apple of the Lord's eye, the people who, in the end, when it's explained, will be, who will have their sins blotted out, will be seen as blameless. All right, the ones that are the predestinated. And if you understand reincarnation, and you know that that's biblical, all right, the ones at the end are the ones where the story started. All right, so all of these extras, the Edomites, the people of the world, all right, this is for the Israelites. So everyone else isn't really going to understand this, nor do they want this to be true. So I can understand why they wrap fairy tales around this. Okay, I understand why they want to believe something else. All right, the whole world wants to be chosen by the Almighty. All right, the whole world wants to be a brother of the Messiah. All right, but it's not written for them to be. Okay, so again, Romans 15:4, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. And with along with the precepts and the understanding comes that comfort. Through all of this suffering, this gives us comfort, because whatsoever things that were written aforetime, which are all these things, were written for our learning. All right, we are a holy people. This learning is for our sake. All right, this truth is holy. Our power is holy. Our brother is holy. All right, and thus the gift that we receive of the truth of these scriptures is holy. This isn't meant for everyone. All right, it's not even meant for all Israel. Okay, everyone plays a part in what's going on in these scriptures, whether they can see it or not. All right, that's a different story. Okay, so now let's go here to. I just wanted to touch on that really quick. Let's go here to Isaiah 48 and let's talk to Israel. Okay, let's talk to Israelites. This is Isaiah 48 in NLT, with the heading being God's stubborn people. Okay, who put the spirit on them to be stubborn? All right, the Lord did. There's a whole, in Deuteronomy chapter 28, starting at verse 15 through all the way through verse 68. All right, these are some of the consequences of disobedience. Okay, so the Lord told us if we do this, we'll be all right. If we do this, we're going to go through, all right, these things. Do you think he was surprised by which way certain people chose to go? Certain spirits chose to go or choose to go over and over? Okay, no, because he is the one who deemed them to go that way. Why? Again, for our learning. Okay, for our learning, meaning the remnant and the elect, the ones that were predestinated, the ones that were predestined. That's it. That's all, and that's it. Again, Isaiah 48 NLT, the heading reads, God's stubborn people. It says, listen to me, O family of Jacob, you who are called by the name of Israel and born into the family of Judah. Listen, you who take oaths in the name of the Lord and call on the power of Israel. You don't keep your promises. Even though you call yourself the holy city and talk about depending on the power of Israel, whose name is the Lord of heaven's armies, Yahweh. Okay? It says, long ago, I told you what was going to happen. Then suddenly I took action, and all my predictions came true. For I know how stubborn and obstinate you are, and obstinate means stubborn, okay? Refusing to change one's opinion or chosen course of action despite attempts to persuade one to do so. All right, so he knew that a lot of, in this case, all right, we're talking about Israelites, were obstinate, stubborn. All right, how? Because he put the spirit on them to be. Does that mean he was going to leave all Israel stubborn and obstinate? No. All right, at the end, he would awaken those who were predestined that fell from their first estate. It's that simple. Okay? We had to fall. We had to be made subject to vanity and sin in order to be subjected to hope and faith. All right? And all of the world outside of the remnant and the elect are not going to understand this. And in some form, some shape, form, or fashion along the way, to the end, they will get filtered out. The ones who were not a part of the predestined. Okay? So someone might know the truth. You got to think of the example of Judas. He was one of the 12 until he wasn't. Do you think that surprised the Lord? Even Yahweh Shai already told you that there was someone, one of those 12, all right, that wasn't, that would go out from them. Okay? Do you think the Lord was surprised when he told Cain, all right, if you do well, all right, things are going to be well for you. Just paraphrasing. But if you, all right, but if you do this, all right, sin is going to be waiting at the door for you. You think he was surprised by the way Cain went? No, he wasn't. All right, again, these things were written for our learning. This whole story was fleshed out for our learning. Okay, not everyone is going to understand this. Isaiah 48 and 4 again in the NLT. For I know how stubborn and obstinate you are. Your necks are as unbending as iron. Your heads are as hard as bronze. Look at the example again of Pharaoh. All these things were happening, but what did the Lord keep doing? Putting that spirit on him to harden his heart, right? Isaiah 48 and 5. That is why I told you what would happen. I told you beforehand what I was going to do. Then you could never say my idols did it. My wooden image and metal God commanded it to happen. All right, because the Lord put it all out here for us. Okay, so if you leave this truth, who are you going to go to? There's nowhere to go. Right? There is nowhere to go. You'll probably start running your mouth even more so against the truth because that's what you are. I mean, you just ran to fear. Maybe you handle fear that way. You start coming against the truth, trying to make things make sense the way you want them to make sense. All right, because the Lord then snatched the truth away from you. All right, and it has to be a horrible feeling, man. A really sinking feeling. All right, that's probably the true sunken place. Isaiah 48:6 now. You have heard my predictions and seen them fulfilled, but you refuse to admit it. Now I will tell you new things, secrets you have not yet heard. They are brand new, not things from the past, so you cannot say we knew that all the time. All right? Yes, I will tell you of things that are entirely new, things you never heard of before. For I know so well that traitors, hold up. For I know so well what traitors you are. You have been rebels from birth. Yet, for my own sake and for the honor of my name, I will hold back my anger and not wipe you out. All right? I have refined you, but not as silver is refined. Rather, I have refined you in the furnace of suffering. That goes back to that patience, man. All right, we had to go through this. We really had to fall, and I don't mean like you fall down now and you get right back up. This is a lesson that had to be learned. All right, in order for us to become kings and priests in the kingdom. All right, we have to learn a very tough lesson. All right, and Lord willing, at the end of this, I will be one of those that have proved to be more than hopeful and have learned my lesson. All right, won't have to die the death. All right, but if not, all Israel, all right, is going to be saved. That's how precious the Lord's blood was. Okay, the sacrifice. That's how much the Lord loved us or loves us. All Israel is going to be saved. Okay, it's just some have to learn a hard lesson by dying by pain. Okay. Uh, I don't want to get it twisted. All right, that blood is for the remnant and the elect. All right, we're covered by the Lord by His sacrifice. Okay. John 17th chapter. All right, He prayed for us. All right, and asked us to be where He is. Okay, the rest of Israel is going to be born back in the kingdom because guess what? This is a patriarchal book, and children from an Israel or seed from an Israelite man ends up being what? Israelites. All right, and there is a such thing as reincarnation. Isaiah 48:11. It reads, I will rescue you for my sake. Yes, for my own sake. I will not let my reputation be tarnished, and I will not share my glory with idols, which is what a lot of people try to do. They try to share the Lord's glory with idols and their own glory with these other nations. All right, it's not going to happen. All right, let's go here to Acts 7:51 to talk more about this. It reads, you stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, ye do always resist the Holy Spirit, as your fathers did, so do ye. Because again, the Lord is a father of spirits. The same spirits keep getting recycled back down here. All right. And they won't hear or see the truth. They won't recognize it. They won't understand it. All right. Not to say that some won't come in. All right. But not all will stay in. Okay. Read Acts 7:52 now. Which of the prophets have not your fathers persecuted? And they have slain them which showed before of the coming of the just one, of whom ye have been now the betrayers and murderers, who have received the law by disposition of angels and have not kept it. All right, most of you Israelites are among the world, okay, doing worldly things, won't turn back to your way, okay? So you can't receive these things. What I mean by it is take these things in, understand them, and endure till the end. Sooner or later, all right, you're going to get filtered out. All right. So when we tell you the truth, you always want to buck up against it, or because something doesn't sounds contradictory, you don't understand that it is understanding that is missing. Okay, it's not a contradiction. It is understanding that's missing. So what you are supposed to do is pray. All right, have faith, and that answer will come to you. Sometimes instantly, sometimes down the road. All right, but you don't give up in this thing. And the predestined, the remnant and the elect won't give up in this thing. All right. Let's go ahead and go to Jeremiah. I'm going to read Jeremiah 2 and 4. This is an NLT again. Listen to the word of the Lord Yahweh, people of Jacob, all right, Israelites. All you families of Israel. This is what the Lord Yahweh says. What did your ancestors find wrong with me that led them to stray so far from me? I've mentioned this before. People complain about what they hear in the scriptures, about the Lord said I can't do this, said I should do this. You complain about it, but you can't point out what is negative about it. All right, it's just that you want to follow the world. It takes you out of your comfort zone in this world. All right, it forces you to be holy if you take heed. All right, this is what the Lord Yahweh says. What did your ancestors find wrong with me that led them to stray so far from me? They worshipped worthless idols, only to become worthless themselves. Okay, that's what happened. All right, again, at the end of this thing, the Lord said that all right, we would awaken. Okay, He told us all this. All right, but a lot of people are still in this world as far as taking heed to beliefs that better fit their life. Okay, philosophies that better fit their life. Okay, they're afraid to lose things in this life, even though the Lord promises more in the next. Okay, they fear the creature more than the Creator. 1 Corinthians 15:33, it says, "Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners." All right, you can't take lightly that the Lord has, or that the power to deceive has been put on some people. Now, that's not a light thing, to know that people have the power of divination, to be crafty, okay, to be cunning, to be subtle. All right, you can't take that lightly. If you do, okay, so some of these philosophies and beliefs and demons will get on you and take you. All right, well, they'll snatch that seed away that you once had. All right, that was leading you and keeping you on this path. Okay, do you think the Lord is surprised by the truth getting taken away from you? Do you think He was surprised by if you get filtered out of this thing and end up being one of those that aren't of the remnant and the elect? No, He's not. All right. It was just meant for you to go your path. Some of you even to come in this truth and then to leave, to exit. All right. To drop your ass off. 1 Corinthians 15 and 34. Awake to righteousness and sin not, for some have not the knowledge of our power. I speak this to your shame. All right, you start doubting, you start going into the world, you start making excuses of why you don't believe this, why you believe something else more. All right, you don't have the knowledge of our power. You never knew him. All right, you never knew him. Let me get that in the NLT. 1 Corinthians 15 and 34. Think carefully about what is right and stop sinning. For to your shame, I say that some of you don't know our power at all. All right, our power being Yahweh, Baal Shem, Yahweh Shai. All right, a lot of you do not know him, even though you're in the truth. You're playing some type of role. Okay, you got doubts and questions, but you like the fame this thing is bringing you. You're in this to become friends with people. All right, you're in just to gain knowledge, to learn about what is known in the truth. And the Lord filters you out of here. And then you go on talking shit. All right. Come to find out, you weren't even a friend of the Lord. All right. You didn't know him at all. Otherwise, you wouldn't play like that, man. You wouldn't be in this thing other than for the right reasons. All right. Remember this scripture right here. Let's see if I can find this really quick. All right. This is Matthew. This is in Matthew. This is red letter. This is Yahweh Shai. All right. For all of you who got a problem with the Lord being described as a man of war, and then saying that the Messiah is all peace, and that they don't agree. Okay, this is for you. Red letter, Matthew 10 and 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I am come not to send peace, but a sword. So now you got to deal with that. What does that mean? All right, for I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. What's up with that? What does that mean? Came to set at variance. Let's get this word really quick.
Strong's G 1369. Dechadzo. Dechadzo.
All right, to cut into two parts, to sever. All right, set at variance. Let me look at something else really quick. What does it mean to set at variance? It says to set at variance means to cause disagreement or conflict between two things or people. It implies that one thing or person is brought into conflict or opposition with another. For example, you might say his new policy is set at variance with the previous one, meaning the new policy creates a disagreement or conflict with the old one. Okay? Oh, man. So what do you do? What do you people do with that, man? That leave up out of here because you think Yahweh is separate from Yahweh Shai. What do you do with that? You're lost and you're afraid, and we understand it, right? Because you turned your back and you know what's coming. If you paid attention to anything while you were in the truth, you know how much of a power the Lord is. All right, you know it. Let me look for and you know he's not to be messed with, man. Let me find this other verse really quick. Amos 9:5 in the AMP. It says, the Lord power of hosts, Yahweh, all right, the omnipotent ruler, it is he who touches the earth in judgment and it melts, and all who dwell on it mourn in despair and fear, and all of it rises up like the Nile and subsides like the Nile of Egypt. Okay? So that's the type of power we dealing with here. Now let me try to find something really quick. I want to go to this definition of omnipotent to further show you that the Lord is controlling all of this, man. Revelation 19:16, just so you know that I'm going to omnipotent. It reads, and I heard, as it were, the voice of a great multitude, and as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of mighty thunderings, saying, Alleluia, for the Lord Yahweh, all right, the Lord power, omnipotent, reigneth. So let's go here to this word omnipotent. So for all y'all who fell out and who are naked and afraid, all right, you have every right. You have every right to be, and good reason. You know the Lord did that to you. You can't get that stuck. You can't get that unstuck out of your head.
Strong's G 3841, Pantocrator. Pantocrator.
Simply, he who holds sway over all things. So why is the world the way that it is ultimately? Well, we already told you back here in Romans 15:4, was it? For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. That has nothing to do with you. All right, if you out of this thing, you just out of this thing, man. It has nothing to do with you. So your understanding is going to go elsewhere, maybe in many pieces. All right, just like he's going to break these kingdoms up into many pieces. All right, your beliefs are going to be broken up into many pieces because you left this truth. All right, you're going to be out there just wandering. Okay? At the same time, you know what's going to happen. Let me finish reading this, and I thought of another scripture. Romans 15:4, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. All right, let me see. Let me see if I can find this other. Let me see. This might be in the Apocrypha. There's a verse talking about the Lord, choosing your madness. Let me see. It might be delusions. Let me see. Yeah, Isaiah 66:4. I also will choose their delusions and will bring their fears upon them. Right now, when you leave the truth, your fear is that everything that you deny now, that you outside of the truth, is still correct. And it is. All right. And you know it. And you torn in two in one body. You don't want it to be true because you know what's coming. All right. You know exactly what's coming for you, man. Or do you? You might be too retarded to know. All right. I'm going to call people retarded. You might be too retarded to know. All right. That you in trouble. All right. So I just want to speak on that really quick. All right. Yeah, I just want to talk about that really quick. Again, precept. All right.
Precept.
A general rule intended to regulate behavior or thought. Okay. And in this case, it is precepts are rules intended to regulate behavior or thought. Rules that regulate behavior and thought. All right. For the remnant and the elect. Okay. Because these things that were written aforetime are written for our learning. Everyone else is just outside of this. They're outside of the temple. Okay. Being able to, being knowledgeable of these scriptures, all right, being the head of camps doesn't make you invulnerable for the Lord to sit your ass down, all right, and humble you. Okay. It doesn't mean that you've made it to the end just because you are a camp head, just because you know how to flow in and out of these scriptures. All right, the Lord will drop your ass off at the door and melt you. Okay. Especially if you the Lord gonna do what he's gonna do, but I don't think it's a good sign you saying that the Lord is retarded. I even noticed that you know that too, speaking to a certain person. All right, because you didn't call him by his name. You kept going around it, calling him Yahweh. But you know his name and you respect it. All right, or you better at least. Because if you don't, then you are the one that's retarded, man. So I just want to speak on that really quick. Anyway, so with that, I hope this came through as sincere and edifying. All right. Hold on and endure because these demons is getting more and more close to the nucleus of this remnant and elect thing. All right. You never know who's going to bug out on a daily. I just pray it don't be me one day. All right. There's a lot of examples of what I don't want to be like. Okay. Now that I've been awakened to this. Okay. So just watch yourself. Pray. Pray. Pray that Yahweh and Yahweh Shai guard you and keep you. All right. So with that, all praise to Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. All right. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, otherwise known as GMS for short, also known as the Prophets of Doom. All right. These are where I have learned this truth, and these are where I am still learning this truth. And also shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. All right, Lord willing, I'm of that number, and Lord willing, we'll see you in the next video. Shalom.